little bit, but I'll be back.
Okay, that's totally fine. All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, April 25th, and this is a meeting for design and usability improvements to Backup CMS. I have sort of skewed all of the usability issues in today's agenda to match the Drupal 7 upgrade stuff that's coming. Can you guys hear that terrible noise? All right. Okay. Sorry. It's like a beautiful day outside, so I don't have the windows open, but then let my neighbors start with the jackhammering. It's a bit of an issue. Okay, so hopefully no more terrible noises. So I put a whole bunch of Drupal 7 upgrade stuff in here, which I'm not entirely sure is related to usability. It's more documentation stuff. But I think trying to figure out like how and where we're going to put the documentation in places where people can find it is usability related. So we can talk a little bit about that. So starting with backdropcms.org, we have this huge block on the homepage now that talks about upgrading from Drupal 7 with the number of modules included in core, the number of modules that are ready for backdrop, and some other statistics, which I've forgotten right now. And last week we talked about adding links. So each one of those numbers or headings will take you to the page on backdropcms.org where more information can be found about each of those statistics, which I think is good. And then I added 2 new items to the agenda today that came up based on Olaf trying to use our documentation instructions on how to upgrade from Drupal to Backdrop. One of the things that he pointed out that I thought was really interesting was that we have mentioned, oh, all of these modules are included in core, but how you upgrade them might vary depending on the module. Like sometimes you just leave out the module and you want to run the upgrade and Backdrop will convert the data for you. But sometimes you have to like delete and uninstall the module and then Backdrop adds a replacement and then there's no settings, or Backdrop will include your settings, or sometimes the modules like merge into something else. And so it can be really different on a case-by-case basis. And so trying to like document, because we have all of these modules moved into core, we know what we did with the data for each one. We need to document so people are upgrading. In this case, remove your module from Drupal 7. In this case, do not uninstall the module, instead just point it Backdrop. And so I struggled with a little bit of where we should put that information on backdropcms.org. And then I realized that we already have this content type called a placeholder project, which is specifically supposed to inform people that this module is no longer needed in Backdrop. And that seemed like and the way that I intended these nodes to be viewed originally is that when you're on the module search page and you look for something like link, it would come up and it would say, you don't need this module anymore. So it would be sort of like in the normal workflow of trying to see if a module exists for Drupal or for Backdrop that you used on Drupal. And then I thought, well, what we could also do is on this like modules included from core page, we could list all of the ones that have placeholders that are like, here are all the modules that are included and here's all the upgrade instructions. So if somebody went to the upgraded instructions page, there could be a button that would be like, review modules that are included in core, see if you have any of these on your Drupal site, yes, no, and we could have kind of a nice cohesive list of them over there. So I'm not really sure, like in my mind that makes sense, but I'm not really sure how that's gonna work once it's implemented, but I wanted to kind of bounce that idea off you guys too, because I think if it shows up in both those places, like people who are looking for modules to put on their Backdrop site, that would be part of like step 1 of doing an upgrade, is like create a code base in Backdrop, look for modules, add them. And then another one would be like, if you go to documentation first, before you start upgrading to see what's involved in upgrading, that's another place that people could use that information. Be like, oh, these 3 modules I need to remove, that's good, that's easy. But these 4 modules I have to like put content back in the database, or whatever it is that you need to do for something like views if you're using features. So I think, yeah, it would be good to figure out how to make this easier for people going forward.
All right, I have a thought on this. Tell me if this sounds like too much work or an overcomplete solution, but it strikes me for, I'm looking at the homepage, the 60 plus included modules. That's a big deal. And I think we want to make sure that there aren't gaps in that. I feel like what's needed, and again, I don't want to like randomly create work for endless other people to do, but I think what's needed is for each module to have a very explicit, yes, no, like for each of the modules included with course, like, this is where it came from, this is where it is now, like really have a complete story. Now people might not ever read the whole list, but for each one, I think they need to have a definitive answer.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's why I created that placeholder page first, where I was like, this is going to be useful in the future, but we're not really using it right now. Where I think we've identified the use case for having these individual pages where like, okay, putting upgrade instructions on them is important, but also a story might be really valuable, or like screenshots of how it was improved. Like, I feel like there's a lot of like really good potential news in there.
Yeah. It's not just like necessary. It's pretty interesting also. Like each one of these things has, for techies that like this stuff, this is fun. I mean, this is like, oh, cool. That's what you did. That's how you solved it. That's what improved. I think it provides a lot of hooks to tell the story.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, great. So we just need to find a way to make those pages discoverable on backdropcms.org, because right now they're like buried in other views. And it could be
right.
that. So go ahead. Do you have an idea already?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm envisioning each of these cases being, a node, and like the default view would be, obviously, a view of the nodes with like the list. Here's the module. Here's what it's replaced with. Would it make sense to have a node type just for this, or does this piggyback? Is this fields on like an existing node type?
But we already have a node type just for this, but there's sort of one for each module is the way it's set up. So it looks a lot like a module node page. But I think like we're going to keep discovering more uses for this node type. So initially it was just like what version of Backdrop Core was it moved into, and that was all that was in there. And now it's like, well, here's upgrade instructions because we forgot that last time. And I think in the future, like here's a news story about how it was moved. Here's screenshots about how it was improved. Here's like the history of keeping it up to date with the Drupal 7 contrib version. I think there's like a lot of really good stuff we could add, and we can continue to add those fields to this existing node type as needed.
I like it. How big is that initial block of work? Is it a hump that's hard to get over?
It's not hard, and I might have a summer intern who would be fantastic at doing this job. It's just like 62 nodes you have to do it for. So it's time consuming. But I think if I have a high school student who's super passionate about documentation, this might be the perfect job.
I'm happy, but I'm looking for stuff too. I have some and like immediate stuff. Like me.
You can create nodes.
I know how to do that.
Yeah.
So like I'm talking about like today, tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that would be great. If you could take a stab at doing one, like I think doing something like link module might be a great example. Because that's something that like is different between Drupal and Backdrop, right? Where we just took the existing link module and we put it in a core, and we can have screenshots of like, it's exactly the same. Look at this interface. Whereas in Drupal 8, they're like, well, we're not going to give you link module because that's hard. We're going to give you URL module, which is a simplified version of what you had in Drupal 7. So if you're going from link module in Drupal 7 to URL module in Drupal 8, you're losing both functionality and data that you had in your Drupal 7 site. And so I think if we just had a story about how everything is exactly the same, then I think that would be compelling in and of itself. And if those screenshots include like the differences in our administration theme to what was in Drupal 7, you'll also see like some of usability improvements too, just in having the screenshots. We don't even have to highlight them. It'll be like, here's how it was before and here's how it is now. So I think that alone will be a compelling story.
That is super interesting. I'll tell you what, I'll commit to opening up an issue right now in which we can sort of collect these ideas, and then once they're, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that this would build up to the surface that the people that know it have forgotten that it's interesting, and everyone else doesn't know
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think
So
we need to be careful. Like, I don't think we should compare it to Drupal 8. Like, I think that's good for people who are evaluating. They will discover that. But I don't think we should explicitly state, like, we're better. I think we just need to say, this is what we are. And they'll be able to see that.
Since you brought that up, that actually brings up something. And sorry if this is tangenting, but I was looking at our homepage where it says upgrade from Drupal 7. And I was wondering if that's going to rub people the wrong way, like maybe like because upgrade like people that have put years of sweat and effort into Drupal might incorrectly get sort of a the thought that we have a negative impression towards Drupal.
Yeah.
So maybe migrating or moving or
Well, you
something.
can't say migrate because that means something in Drupal. Like in Drupal, upgrade and migrate have very specific meanings. That's why I chose upgrade, because you don't have to migrate to Backdrop. You can upgrade, so it's like a lot easier. But I see what you're meaning.
Todd Tomlinson's book was called "Migrating from Drupal to Backdrop."
Yeah, we mentioned that to him. But I think I understand your point. And I think I'm open to other language, especially for like the heading on the homepage. Doesn't have to get into the nitty gritty details of like upgrade versus migration. It's different.
Right.
It could just be something like come from Drupal or have a Drupal 7 site or something that doesn't use any of those words that would maybe be less offensive. So if you have ideas that don't include the word migrate, I'm all ears.
All right.
I'll just say that I think that Luke, you're right to be concerned about it. On the other hand, I hear more and more Drupalers sort of recognizing that not everybody's going to go to Drupal 8 and appreciating this option. So it's, I think, less controversial maybe than it would have been 2 years ago, but still it will probably rub some people the wrong way. Yeah.
I think if we can rub the least people the wrong way, that would be ideal. But we also want to make sure that the people who are curious about Backdrop and want to know what it's like to come from Drupal 7 should be able to understand from somewhere that like it's an upgrade. It's not a migration. So I don't know where that, I mean, maybe that just goes in the upgrading from Drupal 7 page, right? Like it doesn't have to be on a homepage. That's fine. I'm also thinking, just this is related, I'm also thinking about doing a upgrade versus migration blog post that we talked about like, you know, when is it better for you to migrate versus upgrade, and what are your options for that sort of thing? And I think that would tie in really well to all of this other stuff that's going on. So we could maybe put the nitty-gritty details in there, and then we wouldn't even need it on our, anyway, linked from homepage.
I sometimes feel bad suggesting new ideas when we have so many ideas already on the table.
Ideas are good.
In terms of, and this is sort of crossing outreach and usability, if having some sort of like an upgrade, you know, and I'm the events guy, right? Some kind of, these virtual events, I think we're starting to get a handle on and getting a little bit better at. And what if there was a monthly, you know, migration, upgrade, or not migration, don't use that word, upgrade or just move office hours, and or, you know, we did some live sites, like we asked people to volunteer a simple blog site that's in Drupal 7 and say, hey, we're going to do this live.
I've been collecting them. Right. I've started doing some outreach to people I'm working with, saying like, hey, I'm in the market for upgrade projects. Like send me your week. What is it you say in the United States? They have that thing where they're like, send me like the abandoned sites that people aren't really interested in investing in. I'm like, let me know if you have any of those, because I want that use case to be like, I don't want the maintenance of this Drupal 7 project. If I could push a button and have it like maintain itself and have that work in Backdrop, that would be ideal. So those are kind of what I'm looking for, and those would be perfect for a live, how do you do this thing? Now, I'm not sure we can do that in an hour.
No.
But we could do it ahead of time and then like summarize what was done in an hour and go through some of those steps, I think could be valuable too, like saving it at different points in the process and be like, this was hard, let's go through this together.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a small group of people could do it over a longer period of time and treat it almost like a usability study in upgrading, right? Where it's more than just you, but
Yeah.
there's 2 or 3 of us that are going through the process together and again, treating it like a usability study, watching for glitches, looking for places where, the directions aren't clear or whatever.
It'll be an upgradability study.
Yeah. There we go.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. It's a great idea.
But, we might not widely promote that because we don't know where it's going to go. But
yeah,
we could record it and edit.
Starting with 2 or 3 people and solving the issues that, like, someone like you that's already familiar with Drupal and Backdrop runs into, that would be like all the low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And that means we can do it again in like a month. Once we've hit all of the terrible, showstopper issues, then we'd be working on like the little tiny, like nitty-gritty issues. And we could do it over and over again. We could do that like once a month. We'd have like a upgrade your Backdrop site weekend or something.
Yeah.
And then by the time it gets to 2020, hopefully we'll have everything fixed.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, great idea. Can you write that down somewhere?
Yep.
I'm
going to try and put it in the notes right now and maybe make an issue.
Okay, sounds good. I was like, I don't know where that issue would go. Probably in Backdrop core queue. I don't know. I'll let you figure it out.
I don't have edit access in this document.
Okay, I can add you in a minute. Okay. Next on our agenda, well, we're kind of going all over the place. So upgrade stuff we're working on. Last week, I did a bunch of work on the modules themes layout search switch over. I upgraded the previous branch so that rebased it so that it would work on newer versions of Backdrop. And I started trying to clean up the view mode change because I figured if nothing else, I would like to make it so that when you search for a module, you get not only the modules that Backdrop's running, but also these placeholder upgrade instruction type things that we're working on. I think they're called project placeholders right now. And so that was my motivation for that, rather than worrying about fixing or changing the way the search works, which I know has been sort of a blocker, just getting it so we can put more stuff on that layout. And it's going pretty well. So hopefully I'll be able to get that wrapped up today. I would love it if someone else could help me test that. So I was thinking what I would do is throw it up on the new server, because I think right now all of Backdrop sites are moved to the new server except for backdropcms.org. So if we could test that on the new server, it would be a good place to let everybody else play with the module themes and layout pages to make sure we don't, make sure I don't break that before we deploy it. Might be good. Okay, and then Sandbox, I think, is fixed. I know Nate spent some time fixing the code on that. I haven't tried it on our live site to see if it works, but I've also been motivated to switch that, try a demo button on the homepage if it is working, to start using our new Sandbox thing. So we'll talk about that in the dev meeting too. All right, let's change gears and talk about Backdrop, the product. There are 2 major usability features going into Backdrop 1.13. One of them is dashboard, which I think is ready, but we needs to write, I need to write some automated tests for it, so I'm hoping to do that today too. We'll see how far we get. And then the next one is save draft in core. And I don't think anyone's done any work on this save draft in core issue in quite a while, so I am a little concerned that it's not going to make it into 1.13. There isn't even a pull request for it yet. So that is looking unlikely. I don't know if anyone watching this meeting has any serious thoughts about that. On the publishing settings vertical tab and change them into buttons on the bottom of the form, so that when you click a button, it'll say like save and publish or save draft, or so you know what's going to happen when you hit the save button, which I think is a huge improvement. And then it also does some, I think it like removes the settings above. It's just some cleanup on the node form. So in theory, it should be easy to get that into core, but considering no one started on it and code freezes on Wednesday next week, that's not looking like it's going to happen. So
well, it seems like it could be a good tweet. Hey, we really want to get this in core. We got a week. Does anybody have time?
Excellent.
Okay, I'll
Excellent.
do that.
Okay, that's it for core usability. There are two issues relating to design. One of them is designing the maintenance page. That issue looks like it's RTBC. So thanks everybody for helping review that one. And then the other one is color schemes for basis. We had an idea about how to solve the blocker on that issue, which I posted as a comment in there a while ago, but I don't think it's been getting any attention lately. If anyone wants to try and figure out how to use CSS gradients to darken or lighten background colors when the text is not accessible in terms of the contrast, that I think is the way we want to go with that one. I haven't tried it. I don't know what the CSS looks like. It might be a bit of a nightmare trying to get all of the color schemes to be accessible, but it's worth a shot if anyone's passionate about CSS stuff. And that is it for today's agenda. Is there anything else you guys want to chat about before Tim has to run?
Can I tangent the discussion quickly and just say for the mini camp?
Yes.
Can't wait till next week. Can we get a newsletter out or something?
Yes.
Or something like that?
Can you draft one? I think I gave you access to MailChimp last week.
I remember talking about it. I don't remember if
I think I sent you an invite.
Okay.
So there might be like an email you have to like click a link in order to get added. So everybody on MailChimp has their own account. You just sort of get granted access to whatever.
Right, yep.
I set you up as whatever role it is that allows you to create and send emails. And so you should have access to all of our previous ones, and you should just be able to go in there and like copy a template, which has all the like black, white, blue stuff in it, and then just put stuff where we want. So like don't feel limited by the layout, but I just wanted you to get the like black, white style stuff by copying an existing one.
Yep.
And I would say I have a meeting with the folks, I think today, about the newsletter stuff, but I'm going to talk to them about content and not about sending the newsletters, just so we can, like, I would much rather have them focus on like doing interviews for what we call it, community spotlight, and writing the content for us than sending the emails, since they haven't been.
I'm searching my inbox for MailChimp, but I'm not seeing any recent invites.
I think I sent it to your Triplo email.
Yeah, well, they should all go to the same thing. So
I will try again. I know, because I wrote it on my list as like MailChimp for Tim, and then I crossed it off.
Okay.
So I know I tried.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll try again and see what's going on.
Thanks.
But yes, I'd love to get a newsletter out. Thank you for the blog post. Anyone who's interested in coming to Minneapolis, Luke, I don't know if you're excited about a trip in June, but it could be fun times. There's a sign-up form.
We have one backdrop user from Maryland has already confirmed he's coming.
Yay!
And plans to leave Friday night, so I'm pretty sure he's coming for backdrop.
Yay!
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it then, I guess. But we will be meeting again in just under 20 minutes to talk about development stuff. So see you then.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.